Hello, everyone. This is Carrie Logan, your host at Master the Upper Rooms, and I have a special guest today. I have with me Inam Inamullah, and he is a fascinating person. He wrote this wonderful book called Whispers of the Flight, and I actually have a copy of the book right here, this fabulous book here. And we're going to learn all about him today and how he had this amazing spiritual calling and what inspired him to write this book. So here we are. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Truly appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So what did inspire you to write this fabulous book? What inspired you?
I have not as much as you are, but I've always been a spiritual person. I've always felt this connection, with some superpower. Um, but what happened with me was that I had a knee replacement done 2 years ago, and that went a little south on me in the sense that I developed something called DVT, which is the blood clots in your leg.
Ah,
And I was in extreme pain for about 2 months. And I was told to stay in the bed, not move too much. I was on blood thinners. And so I was going through that kind of pain and agony and all that for a very long time, 24 hours a day. And I hated taking opioids. I just, uh, so my youngest son brought me a gift of a book because I read every day, and I was having a hard time reading other books that I had a collection to read. And he said, "You're gonna love this book because you're an artist, and this book has a lot of illustrations in it, and you're gonna enjoy the illustrations at the same time. You're a poet too, so you're gonna enjoy the poetry too." So when I looked at the book, it was really a fascinating printed material. I had not even opened it yet, but it looked so pretty, and it's called The Conference of the Birds. And I opened it up and I realized that it's an English translation of a 900-year-old poem written in Persian language by a poet and a philosopher named Fariduddin Attar, or commonly known as Attar, Attar. And this book has been translated into 80 different languages. And I just read 2 pages just to see how it is. And remember all this, I was in this pain. And I felt as if my pain had started to disappear as I was reading the book. Okay. So I continued to read and read. And it was a poetic translation from Persian to English. It was not prose. So I was having some difficulty understanding, but I went, still proceeded with it. And I spent about 2 weeks or so finishing up the book, which was a concise version of a poem that is 4,600 verses long.
wow.
So it was a kind of a concise version. I would say maybe 1,000 verses of translation, and but it walks you through the whole story, the poem, and poem tells one single story, by the way. So, and during that process, I felt two things. Number one, I felt that my pain was easing significantly. And number two, I also felt that there is a calling for me in this whole poem, in this whole story of the poem. So after 2 months or so of me recovering and able to walk and drive and all that, the story stayed with me. Every day it will come to me. And so I decided to learn more. I retained a professor of Persian language who specialized in old poems, specialized in Rumi and Attar and Sadi and all those people. And by the way, Attar was one of the teachers of Rumi. So I retained her and I just said, teach me just this one poem. That's it. The depth of it, the philosophy of it, the messages involved in it, the spirituality that's embedded in it. So we would do this Zoom calls 2 times a week, and we spent 6 months. And she walked me through the whole poem for 6 months. And
Wow.
after that, I said, I have all this knowledge, and I was satisfied, I was content. But I do practice something. I don't know how many of your audience is aware of this, is that a lot of spiritual people have advised that if you wake up around 4 o'clock in the morning, okay, and try to connect yourself with the superpower, whatever you believe in superpower to be, then it's the best time to be able to connect. And so I practice that, at least 3, 4 times a week. And as soon as after 2 months of learning or 6 months of learning, I went back and did that for the first time. I felt, a strong connection. And I also felt directions coming to me that you need to write a book, because what you learn is not easy for everybody to understand. Like, even if I try to share with my young sons, they will not be able to get the message. So bring it down to the level without removing the messages in the story, and maybe perhaps write a novel so that people can enjoy the novel too. The second night, I usually start, I'm a professional artist, I start painting around 11 p.m. or so. And as soon as I started painting, I definitely got a message saying that stop painting, go on your desk and start writing.
Nice.
So I went back, turned on my laptop, and I started writing. 6 o'clock in the morning, around 7 hours later, I had the whole concept of the novel done, completely done. And of course, I spent a few months after that finishing up the details of the novel, having editing it myself once, and then giving it to others to edit and all that. But that's how it all started with my book, which is called Whispers of the Flight, as you mentioned.
Yeah, no, that's I love how you share that, because I kind of look at it is I know what you're talking about, those moments where you wake up in the middle of the night
Mhm.
and it's there's this energy that's there.
Mhm.
And when you connect to it and you start to listen to it, it can almost be like a download.
Mhm.
You're just receiving all this information, and it's beautiful how it just flows like a river. And
Right.
it's all this consciousness coming into you. And it's fabulous. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, that was very, very deep and personal. And I'm sure other writers can agree. One woman said that's what a writer calls the sweet spot.
Mhm.
You're
Mhm.
really in that mode. And it's fascinating how, yes, time can just not matter. You're just
That's correct.
to it, and you're typing and you're you're doing that. And I do the same thing when I record and I work with clients. My husband's like, I don't understand how you can do this. I just sit in front of my mic, connect, and whatever, divine guidance flows through me and out, I just speak it in the mic. And it's fascinating. Everyone that's had that experience has been like, oh my God, how do you do that?
Right. Right.
And it's really just learning how to go within and connect to a higher power, because that higher power knows exactly what you need.
Correct.
Yeah, it
Correct.
does. It's very fascinating. So, your book touches on themes like self-discovery and overcoming obstacles. Can you share your personal experience that deeply influenced these themes in your writing?
Absolutely. But before I do that, I want to interject one thing to our last discussion that I just remembered, that I think it was Nikolai Tesla who had a practice of sleeping on a lazy chair type chair and not on a straight bed. And he used to have a piece of metal tied to a string that was timed to drop around 4 o'clock in the morning and wake him up. But he wanted to wake up with this bang, this sound of the metal. And whatever he was thinking at that given time in his sleep
Right.
would give him all the ideas that we know Nikola Tesla of as the father of modern electricity and so many different kind of inventions. So as per him, majority of his inventions came into that state where he was actually not thinking about that, but it just was given to him or gifted to him in that manner. So that is something that is written in history and everybody can read about it. Now, going back to my experience, I'm a polio patient. I was born in hardship. I got infected before I was 1 year old, and around 2 years or so, when the kids start to walk and run around, I my right foot was about 45-degree angle. My knee was about 15 degrees angled, and I had a hard time to walk. But I used to walk with difficulty. When I turned 5 years old, I was admitted to school, and of course, kids can be brutal. And it was all boys school, and I used to get bullied every day because I was the only child like that. And I was forced to wear these shoes like you must have seen in, let's say, Forrest Gump movie where he had those shoes with the railings. So I used to have that on my right leg, and but I was not able to participate in any sports. And my art teacher saw me that I'm the only one sitting in the corner, and she picked me up and took me in the art room and started teaching me art every day so I can occupy and feel worthwhile. And that lasted for 5 years. Okay, 5 years. And by the end of the session, when I was 10 years old, I was doing portraits like any professional artist would be doing. The reason I gave you this history is because I faced a lot of challenges right from the childhood. Okay. And I learned definitely techniques or because it's necessity is the mother of invention. You have to survive, so you learn things, how to cope up, and you become stronger and stronger and stronger. And so when I go back and recall my childhood days and then connect with the things that I learned in spirituality, I realized that even as a child, spirituality helped me. It was my connection with the higher up that actually gave me the strength, that gave me the motivation to keep on going and not be disappointed with what I was listening from other kids or facing in the world. And that helped me tremendously when I embarked into as a professional artist's life, because that gave I already had this extreme level of confidence in me that usually people don't have. Now, a lot of people might say that as a disadvantage, you may not have, you may be, um, not strong in terms of your self-esteem and all those is concerned, but it was other way around in my case. I may not have been a world-renowned artist today had I not gone through this experience as a childhood. But I think the spirit somewhere up there, the higher power up there, the spirituality, the connection that I had with that power was my guide, was my strength to move me forward. So that was my biggest personal experience.
Thank you for sharing that. That's my son actually has spastic leg disease, cerebral palsy. So he
Mhm.
has to wear AFOs. And
Mhm.
I know how that is. And it is very challenging for him to not be able to do sports or
Yeah.
to do certain activities with other kids. So I can definitely relate to how that is. And it it takes a it takes a lot of looking at life differently and looking at, and it's hard. Some people might grasp this concept, some people might not. But like I tell them, you picked your mom, you picked your dad, you picked this body. And this body is here to teach you something.
Mhm.
Your soul is eternal. I mean, it's had many, many lives,
True.
and so this is you're here to learn something. And
Absolutely.
instead of looking at it as a disability, you can look at it as a strength. How can I overcome it? Just because I can't do soccer or track or sports, what else can I do?
It's true.
Yeah.
Very true.
So thank you
Very
for
true.
sharing that. And I know that you painted the cover, correct, for the book?
I did. I did. I got a lot of compliments on that, especially even from Amazon. I got a special email stating that it's one of the prettiest covers that they have carried in a long time.
Nice.
And the good thing is that people usually go to digital artists, to get their cover design, which is nothing wrong with that. But I had this, advantage of being an artist, and I wanted to stay true to the story of that inspired me to write the novel, which was the
Right.
story of the birds. And so I ended up painting the birds in such a way that it depicts the actual happening in the poem that basically I used to write my novel. So yes, I did.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, then it leads me into my next question is, as someone who has achieved acclaim in multiple disciplines like art, poetry, playwright, what advice would you give to others who are looking to find and follow their true calling?
Yeah, sure. Well, what I'm going to say is this, that look within, okay? Look within yourself, and look within yourself through quiet reflection, and follow the path that brings you to peace, purpose, and deep sense of connection. That's, if people can keep that, especially our youngsters, as a guide, because we are involved in so many toys of the world these days, and we focus on so much on materialism these days, and there's nothing wrong in making money and becoming rich and all that, having a good career. But at the same time, especially if you are spiritual in nature, then my suggestion is to look within yourself. Look within yourself, because as my book tagline is the voyage to cosmic unity. We are all connected. We are all connected with the universe. We are all part of the universe. And that's where the key to many questions are. I mean, the cosmic unity is the existence, is actually that the concept that all existence is interconnected. I mean, that is something that we have to understand. Living or non-living, everybody is connected, and we have to reflect a singular universal consciousness is something that we all need to seek. And once we connect to that, whatever we are doing, whether we are a visual artist or we are life coaches, we are counselors, we are healers, or whatever field that if we are doctors or engineers, in every field, basically, this process of inner cleansing and looking inside is the key to all those problems. I give an example of that. Um, the Newtonian physics is a reality. It's those laws of physics do exist. We know gravity exists. We know, all the basic formulas of Newton's we have learned in the school are true. But science recently realized, not a few decades ago, that there is another world, which is subatomic world, that we commonly call quantum level physics.
Right.
And there are completely different set of laws at that level, and they are totally different than Newtonian laws. And that's where the spiritual connection with the universe exists. And we have to go to that level, which basically is looking within. As Rumi said, if you have to look at the divine, look inside of you. He or she exists, inside of you, and that's where you will find the divine or the connection or the superpower that you believe in. And I mean, a lot of people, like even Carl Sagan, somebody who's known for be a non-believer in any religion, a complete atheist, but at the same time understood the cosmos much better than other people, made a statement that science is not only compatible with spirituality, it is a profound source of spirituality. That was his statement. So if we all keep that as a guidance, then we will get the truth. We'll get to the truth.
Yeah. I also see that you're a life coach. And do you use the methods described in the book that you wrote, to help people with the life coaching process?
Sure. And life coaching background is that I've been working with the inner communities and the underprivileged communities in Atlanta area for a long time. And and without getting proper training, I got involved with a lot of people that needed coaching, single moms, a lot of teenagers, and for the last 20 years I've been practicing that. So lately all my close friends advised me that you need to get certified, and you're really good with this, and you need to get going and have something established that not only the communities that you work with, that anybody who wants to reach you should be able to reach you. So that's why I formed this entity called Elevate Life. And I only deal with two clients a day, not more than that. It's not for the purpose of making money, but able to extend my reach out to other people who are not in a metro Atlanta area and they would like to reach me. And I apply a bunch of practices, spiritual practices, into my life coaching practice, actually. I do. And first of all, as you know, being a life coach yourself, is that you gotta evaluate the person where they stand in the realm of spirituality, and everybody is somewhere on that band, and you gotta latch on to that band first and understand where they stand, and then take them to this spiritual journey based on their understanding of spirituality, and become not only a life coach but also a teacher
Yeah.
into going into this. A lot of holistic methods I use, definitely spiritual methods. We use chanting, we use dancing, I'm a big follower of Jose Silva. I believe in Silva method. I've practiced that. And now the science is accepting all his teachings. Before it was considered to be voodoo
Right.
practices. And simple things like water glass technique, that you sip of water before going to bed at night with some intention, and you see the manifestation coming to you. And so I use things like that too, for people who are very insecure in their life for obvious reasons, whatever they're going through. We suggest things like weighted blankets to use at night when they sleep. It gives them some extra sense of security. When they get up in the morning, they feel more confident in life than the day before. So all those practices, visualization techniques. There is something in spirituality that, since I use Rumi and Atar as my examples or as my mentors to learn the spirituality, there is something called zikr, Zikr, which is, chanting with an intention. Not, in, let's say, in many forms like Buddhism, there are chanting and it's very successful. But in zikr, what happens is that you pick out an attribute of the superpower. Let's say the superpower is merciful, okay? And you say the word merciful 1,000 times a day, with using beads in your hand if you want to count it, or any other form of counting. Let's say 1,000 times a day. And that invokes this mercifulness in the superpowers, because you are reaching out to that power in that manner, asking for that particular attribute or a quality of that superpower. So I also practice that, teaching the people to select a word that suits mostly in their lifestyle, and they do that. I always teach people to smile at least 50 times a day, because all these muscles that we have in the face, if we smile 50 times a day, even the science today, the medical science says it changes your life. It changes your perception of life, the view of life. If you are into anxiety, depression, it takes care of that. And so all these practices are holistic practices, if I call them, and we include them in our practice. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's so beautiful you say that, because we've all heard that saying, laughter is healing.
Mhm.
And it is. There's lots of just simple, easy things we take for granted, or
Mhm.
we forget because we get so caught up with life and overwhelmed. So it has been such a pleasure speaking with you today, Anon. I've really enjoyed it. To let everyone know, I've created a blog post that provides information if you want to get a hold of Iman and check out his book. It's on Amazon. It's fabulous. I read a few chapters and the writing is so lovely.
Thank you so much.
It kind of like how you said when you started reading, you just forgot the pain and it calls you in. It's this magical it was beautiful. I thoroughly love it and I know I'm going to enjoy reading more. So many blessings to you, Nam.
Thank you very much for having me on the show. I truly appreciate it.
Yes. And you have a fabulous rest of your day.
You too. Take care.
All right. Bye.